Welcome to the SoLoMo Show, a weekly podcast hosted by Corey O'Brien, the social media strategist at Heat and author of thefutureofads.com.
And I'm Adam Hellway, CEO of the digital marketing agency Secret Sushi Creative.
Each episode, we discuss topics, trends, tactics, and tools related to social, local, and mobile marketing and advertising. Our goal is to give you the information you need to be a better marketer. Today is Wednesday, November 21st, 2012, and this is episode number 46.
In this episode, we're going to discuss new business tools for Pinterest, what Facebook revealed about page reach, eBay and Amazon opening up name brand stores, Instagram adding badges, and much more. Hola, Corey.
How's it going, Adam?
It's going all right, even though I'm probably going to sound like somebody's pinching my nose the whole time while I'm doing the show. It's evening for you. I thought it was funny as you were reading, today is Wednesday, and I'm thinking, no, for me, it's Thursday. It's Thursday morning. I'm in the future.
You are in the future. Today is Wednesday, Thursday, November 21st, 22nd, 2012.
Yeah, that's actually kind of funny, huh? Doing a podcast from two different days of the week at the same time.
I like it.
I haven't been in the Bay for quite some time, but I see from Facebook everybody's talking about raining and kind of cold, muggy weather. Is that what's going on over there now?
Yeah, it's been a little rainy, a little cold. Supposed to clear up, but for a while now we've been carrying the umbrellas around and nervous glances up towards the sky to see when it's going to rain next.
And we are doing this episode about a day later than normal during the week, so we're kind of like in this middle zone of Thanksgiving's Eve, huh? For me, it would be considered Thanksgiving in the U.S. For you, you're right on the cusp of it, huh?
Yeah, we are, which means a lot of "what are you thankful for" posts floating around Facebook and hashtag thankful on Twitter. The social world has erupted with thankfulness and consideration. So it's always interesting to see how holidays like that play out on social media, because I feel like it's sort of a organic process. People pick and choose their own way of celebrating the holiday, or at least acknowledging it online, and you start to see trends develop, and it ends up being sort of an interesting microcosm of the online world, just in the way that things flow and people pick up on things and give it their own spin. And like I said, things like trending hashtags, and you'll see that really take hold and then essentially disappear overnight, like you rarely see. It's very interesting. So I like to just keep a casual eye on it and notice some fun things coming out of specific holidays like Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm remembering how close we are to Thanksgiving when I start to see all the Black Friday stuff getting posted on Facebook and Twitter.
Oh man, I am avoiding that at all costs this year. Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I think I heard something about a mobile Friday where people are supposed to be shopping, using their mobile phone on Friday. It's all, I don't know, it's a little much for me. I think it's a little weird, but.
Well, they have Small Business Saturday. I think it's this Saturday as well. Well, they're trying to encourage folks to go shop only at small businesses on this Saturday. And that's been something that kind of erupted a few years ago, and I think primarily from, kind of the spread word of mouth via social media.
Yeah, that was actually an American Express campaign. American Express really put a lot of their weight and their money behind building up the idea of Small Business Saturday, which I would consider it one of the most successful social campaigns I've seen recently. I know even Facebook acknowledged it as their most successful campaign. I think it was 2010, I want to say. And so it won, best Facebook campaign of 2010. And for good reason. It really created an event. It created a lot of awareness. It put a name for itself on the map. So I like that campaign. I think it's a great example of doing something great for the community, but getting a little bit of marketing benefit out of it as well. And really just owning a conversation and creating a conversation out of nothing. And I think I was impressed by what American Express was able to pull off with that.
So we have some leading news here as we start the show, right?
Yeah, so we keep forgetting to mention this, but we are going to be making a return to the Loco series of events. So I believe the last one we went to was Social Loco or Geo-Loco. Yep. All right, so the last one we went to was Social Loco, and so now they're doing a similar event, but this time around it is going to be all about mobile. So Mobile Loco is a very similar event. It's a lot of really great speakers. It's an event about a specific topic, so it's not the broader, way we're talking about social media and maybe we'll have a mobile speaker. This is a event entirely about mobile marketing and advertising. It is a San Francisco event, so if you're in the San Francisco area, make sure to check it out. And if you're a listener of the show, we have a special code for you. So if you are interested in checking out the show, just make sure to use the code SoLoMo Show, all one word, and that'll actually get you 25% off. So Mobile Loco, it takes place December 11th, 2012, so it's coming up here in just a couple of weeks. And we are actually going to be at the event. So we will be at Mobile Loco, probably doing something very similar to what we did last time, which was grabbing some interviews with some of the speakers and really just trying to bring the listeners some of the more interesting and more important announcements from that day and from that event. But we definitely encourage you to check it out as well, because there's nothing like seeing it live. And as always, Mark Evans puts on a great series of events, so he has lined up a number of excellent speakers, and I'm sure it's going to be a valuable use of your time. I always come out of those feeling enlightened, and I really feel like I learned something new and unique. So check it out. If you'd like to learn more information, you can actually go to mobileloco.net. All one word, no spaces, so it's just mobileloco.net. That's also where you can purchase tickets. So again, if you are purchasing tickets, just use the code SoLoMo Show, and that'll save you 25%. You looking forward to that event, Adam? You think this is going to be another fun one?
Yeah, when you said what the date was, I was like, holy smokes, that's not that far away from now. So, we got to get our thing together too and see who we're kind of most interested in talking to. I know they're going to have the CEO, Andrew Mason of Groupon over there, and I think he might, get grilled a little bit, which would be interesting. I think they're looking forward to talking with him about a lot of the stuff that's been happening lately with Groupon, the changes, and how that'll all work out. And because it's a mobile conference, it'll be interesting to hear where the mobile, kind of flavor comes from that particular story. But yeah, we had a lot of fun last time. And if anybody wants to check out the interviews that we did at the Social Loco conference, we have it on our YouTube channel. We have a bunch of interviews with some great folks from these companies, just sitting and kind of shooting the breeze and talking about things that they're interested in and that we were interested in talking to them about. So go check that out, and we hope to see you at Mobile Loco.
All right, so with that out of the way, let's dive into our first topic, because this is a hotly anticipated announcement, which is to say that Pinterest has now officially acknowledged and created tools for the business user. So up until now, Pinterest was sort of a gray area for businesses. There were clearly businesses on Pinterest. Pinterest wasn't actively, pushing them away. They were actually promoting some of the better business accounts, but at the same time, you were technically signing up as a user and then, not putting in an actual name. You were putting in a business name, so it went against their terms of service. It was really this kind of messy gray area. But they fixed all that now. They have created official terms of service specifically for business accounts, which means that now if you are a business or you are representing a business, you can go to Pinterest and with the Pinterest stamp of approval, use it as that account. There is no need to have an individual user who then changes their name to a business account. It really cleans things up.
Not like first name SoLoMo, last name Show, right? Something like that.
Exactly. That's what we used to have at one point. We had, a little bit of a tricky naming convention to try to get it to show up, and it wasn't pretty, but it worked, and, it got the job done. But what's nice is that the businesses that are ahead of the game and have actually created a Pinterest account already can actually convert it over into a business account. It allows you to agree to these new terms of service. It allows you to just have a single business name instead of, filling your name into the first and last name field. And I went through that process for the SoLoMo Pinterest account, and it's really easy. So if you do have a business-oriented account, I definitely encourage you to go through and follow this process, because number one, it makes you a legitimate business, and so you are technically now allowed to promote things like your own products. It technically would have gone against the old terms of service, but with the new terms of service, you can agree to, hey, I'm a business, I'm going to be using this for business purposes, I'm going to try to sell things through my Pinterest account, and Pinterest is okaying that, assuming that you have kind of identified yourself as a business site. But like I said, that process is super easy, so there's no worries about, oh, am I going to get approved? Am I not going to be approved? You just go through and, it takes less than 5 minutes to become a official business. And once you have become an official business, there's a couple of new benefits that Pinterest recently announced in a blog post. So running through a couple of them real quick. The first is that you can verify your website. So this is something we've talked about on the show previously, so we won't revisit, but basically you can add a single file to your website. Pinterest then looks at that file, says, hey, it's there. You obviously have control over your own website, and they give you a little verified checkbox. Definitely something that we encouraged when we first talked about it and still encourage now that you go ahead and do. But the bigger and more important announcement is that they now have buttons and widgets that you can use to promote your profile. So before, if you wanted to promote Pinterest, you kind of linked out to Pinterest and said, hey, go follow me over here, but that was it. But now you can actually do things like bring over an entire board and embed that in your website and then allow people to follow you from that embedded board. So a lot of really nice stuff here. And something that I think a lot of brands could find some value out of once you, play around with it and figure out how it's going to get involved in your website or fit into the overall layout. Do you think this is something that you see yourself recommending to clients, Adam, especially those clients that are interested in getting up and running on Pinterest?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, right after we did the episode talking about verifying your website, we had a client actually listening to the show who immediately was like, please do that for us. Help us out with that. And, I think all businesses are going to want to go this route. I think Twitter and Facebook in their run in their lifetime of their sites and their social networks took a while and eventually came up with hubs to teach businesses best practices on how to use their tools. And I think that this is really nice to see Pinterest doing this as well so early on in comparison, relative to how old they are. They also, in verifying that you are a business versus personal, this kind of paves the way for them to now build out all these unique tools that will be great for businesses but won't interrupt all of their regular users because they're going to be, as they say, provisioning it out to the businesses themselves, which means that they don't have to muddle with these two different user types and potentially give one or the other something that just doesn't feel right for them. They can be very, very specific with what they're doing. I think the interesting part too is that they have case studies and things like that. So like if you're a business who has no clue on how to use Pinterest, if you're completely new, if you've never touched Pinterest before, it is the place to go now to see what are some of the other businesses that they have in the case studies doing. What are their, some hopefully some varying examples, so they're not all the same thing. Just create a board and generate leads. There's hopefully some creative juices flowing on those case studies that will spark some ideas on how you can finally use it and really use it as a business instead of kind of doing this hacked version like we were all doing previously.
Yeah, and the case studies they mention on this initial blog post are Jet Setter, All Recipes, Etsy, Organized Interiors, and Pet Plan Insurance, which are a wide variety of businesses. You've got a travel site, you've got a food site, you've got a craft site, a interior decoration, and then pets. So that's a pretty good collection of the types of businesses that work well on Pinterest. And I like to see that they didn't just do, hey, here's 6 fashion brands that have all done great on Pinterest. Well, of course, but how does something like, a Jet Setter, how do they bring their brand to life on Pinterest? So I think that those could definitely be useful. And I also think that it's interesting they included a little bit of their roadmap here. So Adam, like you said, they're going to alert business users of the upcoming features before just the typical user. But in the blog post, they said, we're going to update you on feature products and services that will provide more powerful ways of reaching and understanding your audience. So if you very lightly pull that apart, you can pretty much see the two things they're talking about. So provide more powerful ways of reaching your audience. That is their ad platform because, essentially paying to reach your audience or working with Pinterest to reach your audience is some sort of ad platform. And then more powerful ways of understanding your audience, that's obviously analytics. So you can see that those are going to be the two things that they're going to work on. And for good reason. That's going to be what's going to drive revenue for Pinterest. It's going to be what businesses are using to, build up their own profile. And so I think it was interesting to see them acknowledge it, though they didn't go any further than say, hey, we're going to work on ways of helping you reach and understand your audience. But at least you know that they're working on it, and it's, somewhere down the timeline for what they're going to give businesses access to. So
that differentiates them from supply and a lot of those other ones that we've covered in the past that have been, kind of Pinterest competitors or very similar in the mechanics of Pinterest. They do have some interesting things to let vendors and brands get themselves on board. But now, Pinterest is kind of pulling themselves away from the pack and saying, we're not just some site with a bunch of images that everybody else can just rip off. We're going to really do what we can to make this a viable place for people to participate.
I do think overall I like the changes. I was trying to think if there's anything that I didn't see in this that I do hope they're working on, but I feel pretty confident about the direction they're taking this. I think mentioning the fact that they are working on an ad platform, they are working on an analytics platform. It'd be nice to see them roll that out sooner than later. I think they've had plenty of time to think about it. And even if it's just a very basic analytics, I don't think that should be too difficult. Maybe it is. Maybe it's really become a challenge.
There's other companies that are already doing similar things. I mean, if they really wanted to, they could buy one of those up. But obviously they may come up with some very interesting things, being the native source, right? They're not just some third party that's trying to hook in there and do something. So there's already some folks out there that are doing things that could be inspiration to Pinterest if they haven't already put a lot of effort into thinking about how that analytics part should play out.
A lot of good stuff coming out of Pinterest. Definitely encourage you to check that out. We'll include a link to this blog post in the show notes, which can be found at SoLoMoShow.com. So make sure to check that out. So next up is a interesting follow-up on a story that we've been covering for a couple of weeks now, which is the controversy surrounding Facebook's newsfeed and whether or not brands are getting reduced exposure in the newsfeed. And so because of the controversy, Facebook has actually come out and started to explain a little bit of what goes into the newsfeed, their thoughts surrounding it. So I thought we'd take a look at the TechCrunch post where I guess it was sort of Facebook giving their official stance through a third party, because I couldn't find a link to where they had actually stated this, but TechCrunch basically spoke with a representative of Facebook, and they outlined the 4 ways that Facebook looks at what to show in your newsfeed and what determines if a page post is going to show up in that newsfeed alongside things like photos and birthdays and all the other things that comprise Facebook. So let's run through those real quick, and then I figured we could chat about what this means and, whether or not this seems to be the truth or if Facebook is putting a little bit of spin on it. So running through the 4 real quick. First is, if you interacted with an author's post before, so if you like every post by a page that Facebook shows you, it will show you more from that page. Number 2 is other people's reactions to a specific post. So if everyone else on Facebook shown a post ignores it or complains, it's less likely to show you that post. Number 3 is your interaction with posts of the same type in the past. So if you always like photos, there's a better chance that you'll see a photo posted by a page. And number 4 is, if that specific post has received complaints by other users who have seen it, or the page who posted it has received lots of complaints in the past, you'll be less likely to see that post. This factor becomes a lot more prevalent starting in September of 2012. So a lot of information packed in these 4 points. Adam, anything stand out specifically or anything that caught you off guard from what Facebook announced here?
Not caught me off guard, but I think, the element of complaints, they're talking here about a mechanism in Facebook that really only was launched recently that allowed folks to complain about content that they might have seen from particular pages, which is in a way like spam control or something on Facebook. If you've got particular brands that you followed and then suddenly, for whatever reason, they're just posting after posting after posting after posting that it's going into your feed, and then you're getting tired of it, kind of like what you would do when you shut down too many game requests on Facebook. I'm not sure if you get those still, but I still get those every once in a while, where suddenly I'll get a notification and somebody will be like, this person wants to play Jack of whatever, card game with you, and eventually I just don't play those games at all, and I shut down my feed from seeing those, period. But I wonder how many people actually use that mechanism or even know that mechanism for pages, and why you would do that for pages you've liked. If you like them in the first place, people know now that if you like a page, it's not just to, hey, show your support and give a thumbs up, but it's also to opt in to get that information into, in your feed. And so I don't think people are necessarily familiar with the mechanic of what the complaining or flagging a post in a feed may do. What do you think of that, Corey?
Yeah, that's probably the case. I think that people maybe don't realize or didn't realize before that if you flag something, it actually affects not only yourself, but also, it appears, the Facebook system at large, which I do think is interesting. It's sort of putting a lot of weight behind individual users, and I guess the idea is, it goes back to the whole, for every one voice, there's 10 others like it. If one person's complaining on your Facebook page about something, there's 10 other people that had the same complaint but just didn't voice it. So I guess what they're figuring is, if somebody actually did take the time to flag your content as spammy or abusive in some way, that because that doesn't happen that frequently, it probably means that it really was to the point where somebody actually had to go out of their way to flag it. So yes, they're going to put a lot of weight into that. It still remains to be seen whether or not that's appropriate. I'd imagine this is something that they have to really tweak because, like you said, as people do get more familiar with the fact that you can report things, you can alert things, you can complain about things, maybe you'll see that behavior increase and they'll have to put a little bit less weight on each of those reports. But I did think it was really interesting to note that, hey, if your posts are flagged in the past, they're going to alter your future posts as well. So it's not just that one got flagged, so that one isn't going to get seen. Facebook's essentially building your sort of, what was it back in school? Your permanent report, or your what was the name of
your file, right?
Exactly. This is going in your permanent record. And so Facebook's kind of keeping a permanent record for all of these pages, and it's saying, all right, well, your permanent record has been great so far. You're posting a lot of photos. Those get a lot of engagement. So moving forward, we're going to try to help you out. When you post more photos, we're going to show them to more people because you seem to be doing well. The flip side of that is your permanent record also keeps track of negative things. If you post a lot of content that doesn't get engaged with or gets even reported as spam or other types of complaints people can make, it actually affects your future posts as well. So I think this is interesting, and something that brands definitely need to consider is it's not just individual posts. It's really the entire, breadth of your posts that you're making, as well as kind of an ongoing trend line. That's how I like to think about it. So if you're trending up, Facebook is going to continue that trend, but at the same time, if you're trending down, you're going to have to work twice as hard to bring that trend back up, because Facebook is going to start to do things like reduce your overall reach.
Yeah, and I wonder, if anybody could game this. If I were a competing brand or worked at a competing company, could I go and complain and have my staff complain on numerous posts of a competitor, and would that affect the page rank? Because it's so available versus something like backlinks from folks and Google PageRank, where you can, but there are very, very special circumstances where people have been able to do negative SEO against other folks. But for the most part, it's much harder to tamper with something like that. There isn't a mechanism that's sitting right there. And so again, like you were talking about the whole weight of those particular complaints, how that will work. And chances are it also this rank, this edge. I mean, the algorithm is called edge rank. It's an algorithm that runs that, just like there's an algorithm that runs Google page rank for websites and links in their index. It's interesting to know whether this algorithm is on a per person basis, and I believe that it is. But I'm wondering if, even though this effect happens when you complain, is that affecting everybody in a blanket fashion? It's probably a mix of both blanket and individual folks. So, not everybody is going to see exactly the same thing. It depends on their individual interaction with you. Like you were saying, if somebody happens to like photos a lot more, they themselves will see more photos in their feed, not necessarily everybody. And the move here is trying to ratchet up the user experience for Facebook users in the end. I mean, that's really what they're trying to do. Funny enough is everybody's complaining as if it's something that is detrimental to folks, but they're really trying to do what they can to not have Facebook turn into just this torrent of spam and torrent of low quality posts, because the rumor has it that if you post more or you do this or you do that, you're going to end up getting in the feed more. And so therefore you have some brands that are potentially overdoing it, or doing it for the sake of quantity over quality. So their posts are just to make sure that they're seen and they're viewed. Facebook wants you to pay attention more to the quality of what it is that you're putting out. And if you put quality stuff out, you're going to get very few, if any, complaints from users, so you won't have to worry about that. You'll get more engagement, which will increase your edge rank, and then ultimately increase your reach as well. And so I think that's what they're alluding to. The problem that the folks are complaining a little bit more about is whether or not Facebook is taking that natural rank that they've earned, the natural visibility that they've earned in a feed, and turning the dial down a little bit, squelching it a bit in an effort to try to get folks to pay for more promoted and paid sponsored posts.
And it does feel like that, but at the same time, this makes sense to me intuitively, because as Facebook continues to get more popular, more brands are on Facebook, therefore more content in general is getting posted. It's the same way as when you're following, 10 users on Twitter, you can keep up with every single thing that they post. When you're following 1,000 users on Twitter, you can't. And so you start to look at these services that filter out, these were the most favorited or the most retweeted stories, and that's how you start to sort things out. So I think it's just a natural result of, hey, look, there's a ton of content. There's no way we could possibly show a user every single post from every single page that they follow. For some users, that would be possible if you've only liked, a handful of things. But as soon as you've liked 10 TV shows and 15 books and your 5 favorite authors and all of these different content sources, the overall volume of content is just so large that they have to do some sort of filtering. So I think that, yes, there is a little bit of you've got to pay to play, and those with the bigger budget can inflate their reach through that media buy. But at the same time, Facebook essentially has to do some sort of filtering, and so they're at least taking steps to show you, hey, this is what we're considering when we're doing that filtering, so that hopefully you can adjust your own behavior to, at least accommodate that or try to make the most of it.
And just a quick thing on top of that is that it's really, really simple. Like you said, if people wanted to see every single post that you posted, they would click on your page, or they would search for your page, or whatever it takes, just to go to your page and see that content. It's all there. And so if they really, really felt that you were the bee's knees and you were the best thing in the entire world, and they wanted to see every single thing that you posted, it's the exact same thing as saying, I want to go to see every blog post that you post. We're going to go to your blog, or we're going to subscribe to that RSS feed, or whatever the case is. They'll make the time and the energy and the effort to do that. And so I think that that's where this divide of what brands expect and what people expect are, different.
Yeah. The other one that I wanted to call attention to, because I did think it was interesting, and we can be kind of brief on this, but the idea that post interaction on the type of post actually matters. So if a user likes a lot of photos, Facebook actually shows them more photos. And the reason I think this is interesting is because photos were sort of the go-to for the last couple of months. Brands were like, oh, we're getting decreased response, but hey, it seems like when we post photos that our response goes up, which might be the case, but at the same time, you also might be essentially missing out on an entire group of users. So yes, the people that have liked photos are going to see those photos, but if the only thing you're posting now is a photo, and there's users out there that don't like photos, but they do like text updates and the shorter non-photo updates, it sounds to me like Facebook is going to not show them any of your content if you're a brand that's only posting photos. So I think this sort of lends itself to the idea that you really need to vary your content. So yes, you can have a lot of photos, but also make sure to occasionally sprinkle in a text post. And if you can, throw in a video and, really vary the type of content that you're putting out there, because there is no magic bullet. There is no, oh, I just post photos and suddenly my content is getting seen by more than the average brand. I think you have to still play it smart and vary the type of content in order to reach the most of your audience that you can.
Completely agree.
All right. Well, with that out of the way, you know what time it is, Adam. The lightning round time.
Boom, boom. Yeah, I saw plenty of that over here last week. Any lightning storms over there?
No, not yet. At some point, I'm sure we'll get some. But for now, it's just been wet rain, no lightning.
Wet rain, that's the best kind of rain.
Well, sometimes there's dry rain. There's sleet,
chocolate
and hail,
rain,
and chocolate rain, the best kind of rain, exactly. All right, so I'm going to put 60 seconds on the clock, and we will dive right into our first story. Ready and go. So this is eBay and Amazon opening up storefronts. So we actually saw a couple of different news stories that have all come together into an overall trend. The first is Apple opened up a store on eBay, which I thought was really interesting because up until now, eBay was sort of this secondhand marketplace, or at least that was the common perception. I think that eBay has been trying for a while now to change that and become more of a storefront. And with Apple opening up a store, that could definitely support this, along with Amazon opening up storefronts for their brand. So allowing the brand to have a specific URL. It's essentially amazon.com/brand name. The design of that becomes more owned by that brand, and they can really get creative with how they're presenting their products and how they're announcing things. It almost combines a storefront with things like a blog. So really interesting things coming out of both Amazon and eBay. And I think it's something to keep an eye on because it may be a viable option for, these retail brands looking to expand their reach.
And that was such a gentle sound there that you.
I know. I somehow my timer got set to the harp, so I'm gonna have to change it up because there we go. There's the alarm we've come to love at the lightning round. The harp is so much more harmonious, but it's much less exciting when those 60 seconds run out and you've got to fight against it. So
I felt like I was suddenly going to fall asleep or something like that.
All right, Adam, 60 seconds on the clock and the alarm sound ready to end your time early. So what is your take on the eBay, Amazon opening up stores? Ready and go.
So, eBay and Amazon are kind of what the internet's equivalent to, say, maybe, I don't know, like a Costco and a Walmart. They are like the big places, the places that all over the U.S. and all over the world really you think of when it comes to commerce online, and both for different reasons. And people don't necessarily remember that Amazon sells from other vendors and sells, they sell new products. They sell also slightly used products. eBay itself is obviously more the auction house where anything goes. I think Apple really making a decision because of the type of company it is to go over to eBay kind of raises eBay's cachet a little bit and opens the door for some things in the future. Amazon is really allowing folks to super customize, well, not super customize, but very much customize their experience on Amazon, which I think will open up some interesting doors next year for the holidays.
All right, well done, well done. 60 seconds back on the clock. Let's dive right into topic number 2. Ready and go. So WordPress, the blogging platform and CMS that we've come to know and love, is actually opening up new vertical specific sites. So apparently earlier this year, and I may have missed the initial announcement, but earlier this year they announced a quick and easy way to set up a wedding site. And then they followed that up closely with a site for bands, and then they recently announced a WordPress for cities. So in addition to blogging, WordPress has really grown into a full CMS platform. And what I think is interesting now is they're finding ways of really catering their technology and catering their feature set to very specific verticals. So we're seeing weddings and bands and cities, and it's easy to imagine them continuing that out for all sorts of different companies. I can really see restaurants on the horizon. I can see retail outlets. I think this is interesting because the WordPress backend is really strong, the developer community is strong, so I can see this being a great way for those appropriate categories to get up and running and managing their own content pretty easy. All right, Adam, 60 seconds on the clock. What is your take on the WordPress verticals announcement? Ready and go.
So, I missed the announcement of WordPress doing that. And really what it is, it's the WordPress Foundation run by the founding company of WordPress called Automatic. I mean, WordPress is open source, so it's contributed to via the community at large. But the ones that know it in and out, and first and foremost is Automatic and their team over there. And they, I think what they're doing in like the article post that we'll link to, it says, this is not something that like somebody who really had really great working knowledge of WordPress couldn't do themselves and put these out there. And it's true. And we work within WordPress a ton for our clients. It's kind of an interesting way for them to prove how versatile WordPress can be if you just put a little effort into it to customize it for each of these particular verticals. That's how I see it.
With 2 seconds left, we will spare the audience from the lightning round sound. Definitely think that's an interesting take. Definitely something to keep an eye on, and we'll have to follow up if we see more announcements coming out of it. But interesting to see them getting into more of the retail side of things and directly servicing customers. All right, well, let's jump into the last topic of the day. 60 seconds on the clock. Ready and go. So we talked earlier about badges for your Pinterest account, and it was a big week for badges, apparently, because Instagram announced their own badges. So we talked previously about Instagram unleashing their web profiles, where you can now go and view all of your photos on the web. And so the next step in that evolution is the ability to add a badge to your website that allows people to follow you on Instagram directly from that badge. So the trick to this is, I believe in its current iteration, all it really does is link out to your online profile, because you can follow somebody from that online profile. So unfortunately, you can't just click on the badge and be following that user. But what I do like about it is it's giving it a consistent look and feel. It's the same way people see the RSS icon and they think, okay, well, that's a blog that I can subscribe to. Hopefully this really starts to solidify that Instagram icon and make it a quick way for brands to say, hey, here's where you can follow me. All right, Adam, 60 seconds on the clock. What's your take on Instagram badges? Useful or not quite yet? Ready, go.
Well, the fact that you can't, click directly on it and follow, just like you might on, say, a Facebook badge or a LinkedIn badge or a Twitter badge, or let's see how many other badges. I think that's where the real usefulness comes in, when you just minimize the interaction. I think what they're doing is they're claiming their stake on the web. When we talked about this a couple episodes past, with the new profiles, the web profiles, I said badges will be coming, or some sort of button or widget that will allow you to quickly follow the people on the web now. And this is kind of a so-so way of making it happen, again, because you can't automatically follow the folks. But this is their way of kind of saying, now we've got this button, permeate the web with this official-looking Instagram button, and people will start to get used to it, and they'll start to go over to your Instagram profile page. And so I think we'll see some more interesting stuff that could be embedded into websites soon.
All right, good stuff, good stuff. A fun lightning round as always. Well, with that, we covered a lot today, but we'd like to hear from you. If you have any questions, topic suggestions, feedback you'd like to give us, or even if you just want to say hi. We always enjoy meeting our listeners, getting to know you a little better, getting to know what you want to know about so that we can cover it. hey, maybe you like the Instagram badges, maybe you couldn't care less, and you're seeing that on your own news feed, and you're thinking, hey guys, you could just skip that one. Let us know that. That'll help us make the show better and make it more applicable to what you're trying to learn from us. So if you'd like to get in touch, there's a couple of ways to do so. The first way would be via Twitter. You can reach both Adam or myself directly. It's at SoLoMo Show. Or you can reach me directly. I'm at Corey O'Brien.
And I'm at Secret Sushi. You can also email us show ideas or feedback or, fan letters. I don't know. I'm just wishing here. On our email account at solomoshow@gmail.com. We also have a Facebook page where we share things here and there besides what we've got on the show. So little things that pique our interest. And we'd love to also see what you have to share with us there on the Facebook page. We have a Google Plus page, and we have a Pinterest account, which it sounds like has been converted from a personal account to a business/brand account. And we've got a number of things on there like interviews and our show episodes, which you could then pin to your heart's delight.
Yes, indeed. And as always, all of the links that we discussed today, as well as the links to the social channels that we just mentioned, can be found in the show notes, which are viewable at either solomoshow.com or in your podcast player of choice. We include them with every episode, so there should be a way to view the show notes. We definitely encourage you to do that. You can click through to the links, read a little more about the topics that we covered today. It's always filled with great resources. This month you could dig into how to convert your Pinterest account, how to add your Instagram buttons. So lots of great stuff in there, so make sure you check out the show notes. And hey, while you're at solomoshow.com, make sure to click through and rate us on iTunes. We would really appreciate a rating. It helps us reach a new audience. It helps us grow the audience, and more listeners is going to be great for you as well, because hey, the next time you're at a party and you're talking to somebody and saying, hey, are you listening to SoLoMo Show? They're going to be like, of course. And then you can talk about all of the things that we're talking about together and bring the worldwide SoLoMo Show community together. So check that out. There's a link to how to rate us in iTunes on the website, and it's a pretty quick and easy process. So we would really appreciate if you take the time to rate us inside of iTunes. And with that, we will call this episode a wrap, and we hope that you come back next week to join us for another great episode of The SoLoMo Show.
Take care.